You deserve it. You deserve it. Hello, Trina. How are you? As you come in, please give hearts. Thank you for the hearts. Invite your followers for me. Come in, invite followers, give hearts. Invite, give hearts. Come on in. Really quick. How are you today, Trina? How are you? Hopefully you're having a good day. I'm trying to get hooked up here on Facebook. So, give me a second. Come on in, invite your followers, give hearts, invite followers, give a whole bunch of hearts. I thank you all for coming in on this afternoon, Francie. Yes. Thank you. Awesome. Trying to get hooked up on Facebook Live really quick. And I'm going to try to make this a really quick scope. So I thank every person that has come in and you're under the sound of my voice on this afternoon. It is a Wednesday. Hi. How are you? And so I welcome every person that's under the sound of my voice on today to Wholeness Wednesdays. And if this is your first time on a Wholeness Wednesday scope, this is typically a teaching scope or coaching scope. That means you have the opportunity to go get your pen, go get your pencil so you can take down some notes. Again, this is all about me as your breakthrough coach, taking you from a place of being broken to a place of inner healing and wholeness. And so that is what Wholeness Wednesdays is all about. For those of you who do not know who I am, hello, Philip. As you come in, invite followers, give thumbs up, give hearts, give all that good stuff. I want to see it. And so as you come in, my name is Aisha Hartwell. I am a child of God. Listen, I say it boldly. I say it with a huge smile. God loves me. Listen, I love God. I am a certified and licensed clinical Christian counselor. I am a professional breakthrough coach. I am the founder and executive director of Agape Christian Counseling Center. I'm also the CEO and the breakthrough coach of Real Faith, breakthrough coaching, and inner healing, where my coaching message is one of faith, one of accountability, one of transparency, one of truth, and one of healing. So anytime God allows me to come before you, I'm talking about faith, accountability, I'm talking about truth, I'm talking about transparency, and I'm also talking about something that is associated with your healing. Yes, God has given me the blueprint and step-by-step processes to take you from a place of brokenness to a place of inner healing and wholeness. And so that is just how awesome our God is. And so many of you were in the scope on Monday. I did a scope on Monday evening with Real Faith Breakthrough Savings, and the title of that scope was He Can Use You Too. He can use you too. And so over the week, right, God has been still ministering into my spirit as it relates to that particular scope, because those of you who came in, I talked about the whole idea. Sometimes we get caught up on not having enough education. We get caught up on our background, all those different things that will make us believe, right, that we cannot be used of God, And so as I began to do more meditation over the week, God showed me that, Aisha, you need to also deal with those individuals who have done some things that they feel are so bad that they cannot be used by God, right? And so today, the title of the scope that I'm dealing with is No One is Beyond Grace. No one is beyond grace. Because he begins to show me, in particular, the first person that he really showed me, to be absolutely honest, was Paul, right? Because we know Paul's background. He persecuted Christians. He did so many things that was wrong, and if you think about it, he was one of the most highly used, individuals. Even though he did some bad things, God said, guess what, I can still use you too for my glory. But today I also want to talk to the women that are under the sound of my voice, and I have 3 women in particular that I'm going to talk about on today. And it's Tamar I'm going to talk about Rahab, and I also want to talk about Bathsheba real quick. And so we know the background of Tamar, right? And so this is a woman who had a husband. Her husband died, but back then we also know that the law required that if the husband passed, then guess what she's supposed to do? She's supposed to go and marry one of the brothers. Why? So that she can produce a child, especially if she's childless, so that she can produce a child. And so the case for Tamar is that both of the brothers, one of them automatically just said no, and the other one was too young, right? And so Tamar, she devised this plan that she was going to take matters into her own hand. And so what did she do? She deceived her father-in-law by disguising herself as a prostitute so that she can conceive a child. And so that was wrong. So that was considered incest, right? That was considered incest. And so we look at the life of Rahab, right? Rahab was a known prostitute, but yet we're going to see that God used her. Then we also look at the life of Bathsheba. Bathsheba, she committed adultery. Why? Because she slept with David. Her husband was away at war. She slept with David. And he ended up devising a plan to kill her husband so that he can marry her. And so today I want every person that's under the sound of my voice to know that no matter what you have done in life, no matter what was done to you, right? Because some women are even dealing with the idea of, you know what, I was molested or I was raped and all those things. And so you feel like you're in a place where you cannot be used by God. But I am here to tell you today that no one is beyond grace, because God can use you. No matter what you have done, no matter what has been done to you, God can still use you. The thing is that we have to avail ourselves. And I said this again on Monday, that we have to avail ourselves and allow ourselves to be positioned in order for God to use us, right? And so I have 3 things in this scope that I want you to get. So if you have a pen and a paper, I want you to please write this down. The first thing, hello, Levette, how are you? The first thing is that God can take us where we are. He can take us where we are. So I want you to write that down, that God can take us where we are. And so what are we talking about? We are talking about Tamar. So out of this relationship, right, that she devised, right, incest, right? We're talking about the incest, right? 2 sons was conceived. It was 2 sons that was conceived. And so Perez was the first son, and he became an ancestor of Jesus. So again, what I want every person to get under the sound of my voice is that no one is beyond grace. And so God can take us where we are in the middle of our mess, in the middle of us devising plans that we think are actually benefiting us, right? That's not right. Because for her to pretend to be a prostitute and for her to set up her father-in-law so that she can conceive a child, that was not right. That was not of God. But she did it. And in the midst of her doing it, God said, you know what? I'm going to use this situation anyway. I'm going to use you anyway, in spite of. And so no matter what you have done, guess what? God can still use you. So God can take you where you are and still fit you into his plan and his purpose. That's what he did for her in that situation. And so again, she was dealing with incest. And so the second person that we talked about was Rahab, right? And so we know Rahab as the known prostitute. That's what she was known for, right? But the second thing that I want every person under the sound of my voice to know is this, that God can change what you are. So God can change what you are. So you can very well be a prostitute. You can be a drug addict. You can be a homeowner. You can be so many different things, but God can change what you are. Because guess what? We were born. Guess what? God had an intended plan for each and every one of us. He had purpose for each and every one of us. He had destiny for each and every one of us. But we are the ones that decide to go outside of God's will. But even in the midst of us going outside of his will, he said, you know what? I can use you anyway. And so he did the same thing for Rahab. We find that Rahab not only, she risked her life for God's people, but then she got to a position where she even abandoned, guess what? The gods of the Canaanites for the true God, the true and living God. The God that we serve. So again, we learned that no one is beyond grace. Her sin was fornication. But God said, you know what? I can still use you anyway. And what I love about it is that even with her knowing her own background, because we know what we have done, we know where we came from, right? We know all of those things. But even with her knowing that, she didn't allow her past to stop her from taking on this new role. And see, it was new to her, but it wasn't new to God, because God already had a plan for her. And I'm going to say that for somebody that's under the sound of my voice. The role that God is asking you to take on right now, it may seem new to you, but it's not new to God. Because he had a plan since the beginning. Since before you were ever born, he had a plan for you. Right? And so the third person that I brought up and I'm talking about, and I'm bringing all these different people out because all of them have a different background. They all dealt with a different type of sin. Tamar dealt with incest. You had Rahab who dealt with fornication. Now we're looking at the life of Bathsheba. And guess what? She committed adultery. But even in the midst of that, God can still use you. God chose Bathsheba. He chose her. And so then her first baby died. Then she conceived again. She conceived Solomon. And so we all know that Solomon became the next link, guess what? In the divine chain of God's son, which is Jesus. So no one is beyond grace. So God used each and every one of these women to fulfill his plan and to fulfill his purpose. And the same thing for each and every one of you. And so no matter what you have done, no matter what has been done to you, guess what? God can still use you. And you are not beyond his grace. His grace is sufficient. And you have to know that his grace is sufficient. So God can take your complicated mess and use it for his good. He can use it for his good. And so one of the things, again, I talked about earlier that during my meditation, one of the people that God originally gave to me was Paul, right? It was Paul. And the reason why, because of what he done, what his background, but he was used mightily of God, right? He was used mightily of God. And so one of the things that stood out to me as I was actually reading the book of Galatians, right? And it was two scriptures in particular that stood out to me, which was verses 15 and verse number 16. And I'm not going to read it. I want you to go back and read it. But one of the things that really stood out to me is that when God gave Paul a message of what it was that he wanted him to do, despite his background, he didn't go and get approval. He didn't go and tell everybody, hey, this is what God said to me. You know why? Because for some of you who have dealt with some of these sins, some of those things that you feel like is preventing you from truly operating in the things of God, if you go and you consult with somebody else, guess what they're going to do? They're going to throw your past in your face and probably tell you that you're not worthy enough to walk out the call and the plan that God has on your life. And so today, again, I just want you to know that no one is beyond grace. God can take us where we are. God can change what we are. And God can use who we are. But we have to avail ourselves. We have to avail ourselves. And so Paul didn't go and get approval. He didn't tell everybody what God told him to do. You know what he did? He went in preparation. He went and began to prepare himself to walk out the call that God placed on his life. And so for somebody that's under the sound of my voice, I want to tell you that nobody is beyond grace. God can use you. And if he gave you the message, right? He told you what it is that he's calling you to do in this season and in this hour, then guess what? You seek him and you prepare yourself to walk in that thing that God is calling you to do. Because he can use you too. He can use you too. Just position your heart, position your mind, position your spirit in order to do what God has called you to do. And so I have to go. I have to get off of here because I have to go and pick up my baby, of course. But I love you all. Listen, with the love of Christ, I pray today that each and every person that's under the sound of my voice, that you were blessed. You were blessed by the word that actually went forth. And so if you missed the points, I'm going to go over them really quick just one more time. The first one is that God can take us where we are. The second point is that God can change what we are. And the third thing that you need to know is that God can use who we are. And that you are not beyond his grace. His grace is sufficient. And he want to use you. He want to use you. He want to use you. God wants to take the imperfect person to accomplish his perfect will. That's what he want to use, the imperfect person to accomplish his perfect will. And so I love you all with the love of Christ. I pray that each and every one of you have an awesome remainder of the day and an awesome remainder of the week. I will see you again really soon. Real Faith Breakthrough segments, Wholeness Wednesdays. I'm here Mondays, Wednesdays, right? I'm here on Mondays and Wednesdays. I love you all with the love of Christ. Have an awesome remainder of the day, awesome remainder of the week. Again, my name is Aisha Hartwell. I am a child of God. I say it boldly. I say it with a huge smile. I say it with enthusiasm. You know why? Because I know that God loves me. In spite of it all, he loves me, right? And I love God. I'm a certified and licensed clinical Christian counselor. I am a professional breakthrough coach. I am the founder and executive director of Agape Christian Counseling Center. I'm also the CEO and a breakthrough coach of Real Faith, breakthrough coaching and inner healing, where my coaching message is one of faith, one of accountability, one of transparency, one of truth, and one of healing. It is my belief that God has given me the blueprint and step-by-step processes to take you from a place of brokenness to a place of inner healing and wholeness. That is just how awesome our God is. Glory, I am leaving out. Please watch the replay and watch it in its entirety. All of you who are coming in right now, go back and watch the replay, watching it in its entirety. I promise that you're going to be blessed so that you can be a blessing to somebody else. I love you, Trina. Thank you for staying in. Glory, I love you, my sister. Thank you for coming in. Andrea, all of you, go back and watch the replay. Have an awesome remainder of the evening.